Hello there. Today, what are we doing today? We're going to read the Geneva Convention. For the amelioration of the condition of the wounded and sick in armed forces in the field of 12th of August 1949. The undersigned plenipotentiaries of the governments represented at the diplomatic conference held at Geneva from April 21 to August 12, 1949, for the purpose of revising the Geneva Convention for the relief of the wounded and sick in armies in the field of July 27, 1929, have agreed as follows. Chapter 1, General Provisions. The High Contract the high contracting parties undertake to respect and to ensure respect for the present convention in all circumstances. In addition to the in addition to the provisions which shall be implemented in peacetime, um, the present convention shall apply to all cases of declared war or of any other armed conflict which may arise between two or more of the high contracting parties, even if the state of war is not recognized by one of them. The Convention shall also apply to all cases of partial or total occupation of the territory of a high contracting party, even if the said occupation meets with no armed resistance. Although one of the powers in the conflict may not be a party to the present Convention, the powers who are parties thereto shall remain bound by it in their mutual relations. They shall furthermore be bound to by the convention in relation to the said power, if the latter accepts and applies the provisions thereof. Article 3. In the case of armed conflict not of an international character occurring in the territory of one of the high contracting parties, each party to the conflict shall be bound to apply as minimum the following provisions. 1. Persons taking no active part in the hostilities, including members of armed forces who have laid down their arms and placed hors de combat by sickness, wounds, detention, or any other cause, shall in all circumstances be treated humanely, without any adverse distinction, founded on race, colour, religion, or faith, sex, birth, or wealth, or any other similar criteria. To this end, the following acts are and shall remain prohibited at any time and in any place whatsoever with respect to the above mentioned persons. A. Violence to life and person, in particular murder of all kinds, mutilation, cruel treatment and torture. Taking of hostages. C. Outrages on personal dignity, in particular humiliating and degrading treatment. The passing of sentences and the carrying out of executions without previous judgment pronounced by a regularly constituted court, affording to all the judicial guarantees which are recognized as indispensable by civilized peoples. The wounded and sick shall be collected and cared for. This is 2. An impartial humanitarian body such as the International Committee of the Red Cross may offer its services to the parties to the conflict. The parties to the conflict should further endeavour to bring into force, by means of special agreements, all or part of the other provisions of the present convention. The application of the preceding provisions shall not affect the legal status of the parties to the conflict. Article 4. Neutral powers shall apply by analogy the provisions of the present convention to the wounded and sick and to members of the medical personnel, and to chaplains of the armed forces of the parties to the conflict received or interned in their territory, as well as to dead persons found. Article 5. For the protected persons who have fallen into the hands of the enemy, the present convention shall apply until their final repatriation. Article 6. In addition to the agreements expressly provided in Articles 10, 15, 23, 28, 39, 36, 37, and 52, the high contracting parties may conclude other special agreements for all matters concerning which they may deem it suitable to make separate provision. No special agreement shall adversely affect the situation of the wounded and sick, of members of the medical profession, or of chaplains as defined by the present convention, nor restrict the rights which it confers upon them. Wounded and sick, as well as medical personnel and chaplains, shall continue to have the benefit of such agreements as long as the convention is applicable to them, except where express provisions to the contrary are contained in the aforesaid or subsequent agreements, or where more favourable measures have been taken with regard to them by one or other of the parties to the conflict. Article 7. Wounded and sick, as well as members of the medical personnel and chaplains, may in no circumstances renounce in part or in entirety the rights secured to them by the present convention, and by special agreements referred to in the foregoing article, if such there be. Article 8. The present convention shall be applied with the cooperation and under the scrutiny of the protecting powers whose duty it is to safeguard the interests of the parties to the conflict. For this purpose, the protecting powers may appoint apart from their diplomatic or consular staff delegates from amongst their own nationals or the nationals of other neutral powers. The said delegates shall be subject to the approval of the power which they are to carry out their duties. The parties of the conflict shall facilitate, to the greatest extent possible, the task of the representatives or delegates of the protecting powers. The representatives of or delegates of the protecting powers shall not in any case exceed their mission or under the present convention. They shall, in particular, take account of the imperative necessities of security by the state, wherein they carry out their duties. Their activities shall only be restricted as an exceptional and temporary measure, when this is rendered necessary by imperative military necessities. Article 9. The provisions of the present convention constitute no obstacle to the humanitarian activities at which the international community of the Red Cross or any other partial humanitarian organization may, subject to the consent of the parties to the conflict concerned, undertakes for the protection of wounded and sick, medical personnel, and chaplains, and for their relief. Article 10. The high contracting parties may at any time agree to entrust to an organization which offers all guarantees of impartiality and efficacy the duties incumbent on protecting powers by virtue of the present convention. When wounded or sick, or medical personnel and chaplains who do not benefit or cease to benefit, no matter for what reason, by the activities of protecting power or of an organization provided for in the first paragraph above, the detaining of power, the detaining power shall request a neutral state or such an organization to undertake the functions performed under the present convention by a protecting power designated by the parties to the conflict. Protection cannot be arranged accordingly. The detaining power shall request or shall accept, subject to the provisions of this article, the offer of the services of a humanitarian organization such as the International Committee of the Red Cross to assume the humanitarian functions performed by protecting powers under the present convention. Any neutral power or any organization invited by the power concerned or offering itself for these purposes shall be required to act with a sense of responsibility towards the party to the conflict on which persons protected by the present convention depend, and shall be required to furnish sufficient assurances that it is in a position to undertake the appropriate functions and to discharge them impartially. No derogation from the preceding provisions shall be made by special agreements between powers, of one of which is restricted, even temporarily, in its freedom to negotiate with the other power or its allies by reason of military events, more particularly where the whole or a substantial part of the territory of the said power is occupied. Whenever in the present convention mention is made of protecting a protecting power, such mention also applies to substitute organizations in the sense of the present article. Article 11. In cases where they deem it advisable in the interest of protected persons, particularly in cases of disagreement between the parties to the conflict as to the application or interpretation of the provisions of the present convention, the protecting powers shall lend their good offices with a view to settling the disagreement. For this purpose, each of the protecting powers may, either at the invitation of one party or on its own initiative, propose to the parties to the conflict meeting of their representatives, in particular of the authorities responsible for the wounded and sick, members of the medical personnel, and chaplains, possibly on neutral territory, suitably chosen. The parties to the conflict shall be bound to give effect to the proposals made to them for this purpose. The protecting powers may, if necessary, propose for approval by the parties to the conflict a person belonging to a neutral power or delegated by the International Committee of the Red Cross, who shall be invited to take part in such a meeting. That was Chapter 1 of the Geneva Convention. I hope you enjoyed me waffling for 13 minutes about the Geneva Convention. And I will make this a series where I read the Geneva Convention. I'm going to read the whole Geneva Convention. So, you know, it's quite epic. And you in order to get more episodes of the Geneva Convention, you need to subscribe to the channel and like the video, and also share the video and comment on the video and hit the notifications on the channel. Or you know what will happen? I will come to your house and maybe I will violate the Geneva Convention. Who will know? Who knows? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. But what I can say is a possibility that I may come to your house to violate the Geneva Convention. So you better subscribe to the channel. What happens if you do subscribe to the channel? You get a free gift card in your bank account. You know, who doesn't want a free gift card in your bank account? I do not know. It's quite a baffling question to me that someone would not want to subscribe to the A3101 YouTube channel, because if you get a free gift card in your bank account, you know, isn't it? Why would you not? You know. Anyway, you better subscribe or else.
Hello there, I don't care. You eat pear and shave hair. I'm dying, you're dying, we're dying, everyone's dying. Stop crying, subscribe please, and like please, and hit the bell please, and don't kill cheese.